Welcome to Around the House, sponsored by RoMac Building Supply. I'm your host, Don Magruder. If you like today's video, please go to our website, aroundthehouse.tv, and sign up for our YouTube channel and our free weekly newsletter. Now, in this segment of Around the House, we're going to talk about tips to save you money if your garage door breaks down. We have Jim Chaput from RoMac Garage Doors, an expert in the field with about 40 years experience. He's going to show and tell us a lot about garage door repairs. Now, nothing makes your stomach churn or your heart race as when you press a button on your garage door remote and nothing happens. Or you try to close your garage door and nothing happens. Today, we're going to have some great money-saving tips that are easy and simple to use. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jim Chaput. Good afternoon, Jim. How are you doing?
Doing great, Don. Thanks for having me on the show.
Jim, tell us a little bit about Jim Chaput and RoMac Garage Doors.
Well, I started with RoMac Garage Doors in October of '79, so way back in the 1900s. Well, and put in a lot of time and seen a lot of different things with garage doors through the years.
Yeah, and back then, not every garage door had an opener, did they?
That's correct. That's correct.
What areas do you service?
We basically service the whole Central Florida area. We run from coast to coast here in Central Florida.
I know you install doors to Orlando, Tampa, up to Jacksonville. You guys stay busy, don't you?
Yes, we do. I mean, we're in Daytona, Crystal River. We're all over the place.
And that's because of code variations. That can be complicated.
It sure can. You really have to be careful what you're doing out there, and you really have to know what to do and do the right thing.
And Jim, if someone heard anything on today's show that'd like to get more information, what's a good number they can reach you at?
They can reach us at 352-748-4575 or 352-314-0893.
Jim, nothing puts fear in someone's heart quicker than you're late for work, you press that button to open your garage door and nothing happens. And the first inkling is to call a service person. But you've told me in the past that's the wrong thing to do. If you press that button on the garage door opener and it doesn't open the door, what should you check first before calling that garage door service person?
Well, a good thing to do is when you come out the door in the morning and you go to that wall station or that push button, it should be illuminated. So it should be lit up.
Yep.
And if it's not lit up, then that means there's no power to that wall station.
So a lot of times it's just maybe you had a thunderstorm that night and a breaker tripped.
Sure could be. The other thing that happens sometimes is it'll trip a GFI. We've noticed that a lot of times irrigation systems are connected to the same GFI as the garage door opener. And in some of your older homes, they have a GFI connected there, and the GFI will pop, and it just needs to be reset.
Because a lot of garage door openers are literally plugged in to a ceiling receptacle that may be tied to a GFI.
Correct, and it might be just a GFI right there on the wall in the garage. Usually there's not a GFI on the ceiling itself. But on the newer homes too, their GFIs are basically in the breaker box on the breakers now.
Wow.
So they're getting away from putting them on the different outlets and then tying them together.
I tell you, the saddest one is the lockout issue. For years I didn't even know that was on my wall panel until it happened. Explain to people what the lockout issue is.
Well, there's a lockout system on the garage door opener, and it's a little switch on that wall station. And when you flip that switch, nothing will operate that door. The push button on the wall will not operate it, or the remote control will not operate it. So that happens sometimes too. A lot of times when people call in, they'll say, "Hey, I just hit my button on my wall station and the garage door won't do anything." So what we basically tell them to do is check that lockout switch. A lot of times somebody may have bumped it, or myself, when I come in the evening, if we're in for the night, I just flip the lockout switch. That way I know that nothing's going to operate my door.
And that's the purpose of it.
Just a nice security
So
switch.
Someone hadn't stole a code and can open your door.
Correct.
There's always a way out if the door's not broken. Talk about the emergency ripcord, as I call it.
Okay. Well, if say the power was off when you got up and you didn't have a DC motor with a battery backup to open the door manually, or on the opener, what we recommend is if the power's out in the house, there's a manual release cord, and when the door's in the down position, it's going to be over in the center of the door at the front of the garage. And it's a red cord usually has a red handle on it. And basically you just pull that cord and it releases the operator from the door, and you should be able to lift the door manually so you're not trapped in the garage.
Sometimes, Jim, the power's on the door, we'll try to lift up the door and will not lift it up. What's that usually a symptom of?
Usually that's a symptom of a broken spring. If you come out and you hit that button in the morning and the door starts, you can see the opener's trying to pull the door up, but the door is only coming up so far and it's stopping or reversing. That's usually a symptom of a broken spring.
Now let's go back towards the opposite thing. What if you have a door that's in the up position, you press the button and it doesn't want to come down?
Usually that's a symptom right off the bat. If we usually ask people, how far will it actually travel? If it only travels about 10 to 12 inches, that's usually a symptom of a set of photo sensors that are either out of alignment or possibly have gone bad, or it could be just a wiring issue right up near the photo sensor, or somebody may have set a broom in that corner or a rake or something and bumped one.
How many times have you been called to a service call to find out a broom was set inside a service sensor?
Yeah, we've gone to many like that, and we always try to ask folks to make sure the sensors are clear before we do that. And the other thing is, when they set that rake or that piece of equipment in that corner, if you bump those wires, they're solid copper wires, but they are low volt and they are thin and they can break.
The most important thing I think you do it at RoMac Garage Doors is before you send a technician out, you sort of go through a checklist, don't you?
We do. Everybody in our office has a checklist to kind of go over with folks. And some people are tickled to death because they'll walk right out in their garage and take care of the problem right then. And then some folks, they're just like, hey, my door hasn't been serviced in a while. I just need you to come out and just check everything out.
And unfortunately, this is how people get ripped off on garage doors. They have a minor problem, say their block sensor, and they'll get an unscrupulous repairman out there who says they need to replace a whole bunch of parts that's really useless. You see that all the time, don't you?
Yes, we do. It's real unfortunate because, when we come out and we do our 10-point service and check everything out, we've had some people that'll call us up and say, hey, I just had this problem. What would it have taken? I just had a broken spring. But this outfit came out and they sold me $800 worth of parts. They sold me cables and rollers and hinges and drums. They basically rebuilt their door with all these parts. But you still got the old panels. You could have replaced the whole thing.
Yeah, you could have replaced the old door.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I tell you what, let's go to the RoMac show and tell desk, because you've brought some things for us to look at.
Sure.
That I think will make it clear to people as far as their garage doors and how they can relate. So stay tuned. We're going to go to the RoMac show and tell desk, and we're going to show you some neat things involving garage doors. We're at the RoMac Building Supply show and tell desk with Jim Chaput from RoMac Garage Doors, and we're about to look at some of the pieces, parts he brought to us so we can get a better understanding of garage doors. Jim, what's this big contraption up here?
Well, what I did, Don, I brought in a torsion spring, and actually the torsion bar setup as it would be on a overhead door.
Okay.
This is mounted on the lintel up above the garage door when the door is in the down position at the front of the garage.
So if you close the garage doors,
correct,
and look back up to where the garage doors are closed, correct, you'll see this above it.
This would be what you would see up on
but
the
bigger,
lintel, basically, but bigger.
Yeah.
16-foot door. It's going to be about 17 foot wide. But this is the spring, and this is the counterbalance mechanism that lifts the door.
In other words, without this spring, you couldn't lift that door up.
That's
It'd be
correct.
too heavy.
That's correct.
That's when, so if the spring breaks, that's the reason the door doesn't work.
That's correct. That's correct.
How
That's
can you
the
tell, now
counterbalance.
this spring is not broken. You can see it's all,
correct.
But how can you tell if a spring is broken?
If this spring is broken, you would see a space in between the coils. So you would see an open space,
okay,
about probably 2 to 3 inches wide there. And of course the end of the springs would be loose. Now, when you see this spring, all new installs have to have this warning tag on it.
Yep.
And the reason for that is this spring's under a tremendous amount of pressure. And this warning tag is to let people know that they could be hurt seriously by tampering with it whatsoever. The other thing that you'll notice on this is the red set screws on the drums and everything. We have to put these red set screws in every place that a person could be injured, where they would be try to possibly work on this door. So basically, the way this spring works is we put tension on this spring, and as we wind it, the diameter of the spring gets smaller, but the spring itself gets longer. So when it breaks, Don, that's why you have that gap in there, because the tension comes off both pieces, and then it actually shrinks.
And I've seen this bracket literally be pulled away from a wall because it wasn't installed properly and too much tension gets on this spring.
That is correct. Okay. That is correct. This has to be fastened to the wall correctly. And the other thing is, once you fasten it using the correct fasteners, you have to make sure you don't split out the wood that it's fastened to. A lot of block homes in Florida will have a piece of 2x6 or 2x10 pressure treated on the wall. And sometimes when people install these, they'll split that wood.
That's not good.
And that's the worst thing you can do. They should be pre-drilled and when it's fastened.
We've got a little bit of time. Let's go through the rest of this real quick. What are these right here, Jim?
This is a set of the photo sensors.
And that's what gets blocked.
That would be at the bottom of each opening, and that's what gets blocked. The other thing that happens, they get bumped, knocked out of place, and basically you have a sending eye and a receiving eye, and it basically picks up about a 20 to 30 inch target.
And this
so
is
it can be a little bit out.
And this is your typical wall station.
Correct.
And there's that little lock and unlock mechanism.
That's correct. That's the lockout switch right there.
Now this is wired directly to the garage door, and then this remote is what you have in your car typically.
That's correct. That's correct. And it's got a little LED light on it, which a lot of them do, the different brands.
And this is
it tells you that it's transmitting or that the battery's still good.
And this is just the linear brand wall station.
That's
and
correct.
Remote. Now this is, to me, the handy dandy part. We've got just a little bit, but that's the keyless entry.
That's the keyless entry, and what you do with this is basically mounted on the outside of the garage, on the side wall, and you can punch in a 4-digit code to raise and lower your door. Okay, and it basically is just like your regular transmitter, because what it does, it's wireless. Also, like a transmitter, it has a battery in it, and it transmits to your operator and will operate your door for you.
That's great for kids and people coming inside your house. Well, Jim Chaput from RoMac Garage Doors, thank you for being our guest and showing this to us. A lot of time and money can be saved. Thank you for watching Around the House today. If you'd like to see more videos like this, be sure to go to our website, aroundthehouse.tv, and sign up for our YouTube channel and our weekly free newsletter. Until next time, we will see you around the house.